Welcome to Haunted Homebodies, where Halloween isn't just a day, it's a lifestyle. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Sarah, and we're your guides through the delightfully dark corners of comfort horror.
I really actually am quite proud of myself because this is the least amount of time I've spent researching. Because
Oh my gosh, I'm proud of you too.
I know I've been I've slacked off a little bit. Feels good, but really it was out of necessity because I was sick again, and then had like a day and a half to prepare this before we were going to be like unable to release an episode on time. So I was like, I only can do like 2 sources. Like I just have to be done. So I had a little book already that I used for research, and then in the car ride, I printed off another article and was like reading and adding in notes. And so like I am like very underprepared, which is not like me, but we're gonna see how it goes.
Okay, I love this so much. I don't think I was always this way. I think I was always more this way than you were, of like a good enough type of person. And I'm like always trying to convert people to the good enough mindset. So
Yes.
this is great. I just feel like it's a healthy way to live sometimes.
Oh, 100%. But then I'm like, well, this is just gonna be terrible, but it probably will seem like very similar because what I would usually do is like deep dive on each fact to see if I could get like one more little interesting thing. And like sometimes I would and sometimes I wouldn't, but it would be like an hour of research for like one more bullet point.
Yeah. Which, in fairness to you, I think most of the time you enjoy.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think you do like getting to that. So I won't try to convert you totally, but
Yeah, no, but it was good. I didn't like stay up all night or anything. Like Chris needed
Okay,
to use my
yeah.
laptop last night, and then I just was like, well, I guess I'm not gonna prepare for the episode tomorrow. He was like, oh, you can use it. And I was like, I think I'm just going to go to bed. So I just read my book. But unfortunately, I was at the like 3rd act of the book. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to stay up until this is done. So I ended up staying up like a little bit late, but it was all good. No
Was it
podcast
good
research
book?
was done. It was good. It's like not super new. It's called The Prison Healer. It's like YA fantasy. It was pretty
Ah,
good. Yeah, I
cool.
enjoyed it.
Good.
The end was
Good.
wild. There was no way. I was like, okay, we gotta we gotta wrap this up.
I love this for you. I highly approve of this way that you chose to spend your time.
Yeah. Well, let me try to present this story to you. I have a printed out on paper because I
Which
was editing it
she
in the
got
car.
out of a binder earlier, everyone. I don't think I didn't see the 3-ring binder.
I have so many 3-ring binders. It's there's something so satisfying to me. You know, I just like I love to just be a student, but like I've realized as an adult that you can be a student without getting graded, tested, judged, and you
Ooh,
get to study whatever you want. So I make these little 3-ring binders for myself for like different like hobbies of mine, and it's so
wow.
satisfying. I have like blank white paper for like doing like thought bubbles and sketches, and then I have my lined paper, and then I print out my documents.
Do you have different colored
So good.
binders for all these things?
Most of them I thrift now, so like I'll just take
Okay.
what I can
That's
get
very
that doesn't look too
smart.
grody.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
fair.
so yeah, that's a thrift store one. I just like look to see if it's like relatively clean and the rings still connect, and then I'm like, okay, you're coming home.
As long as it's got the satisfying pop.
Yes, I can't deal with the ones that are crisscrossy or they're not lining
Oh,
up
no.
anymore. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
no.
Not worth
But
it. No.
no, I did find came across one that I like used to have, and I don't know, it was like a very specific neon green color, and for some reason, like when I see those in thrift stores, I'm like, was this mine? Did I donate here? That's probably like 10 years ago. It was
It's
no
the
way, this is
only
mine.
one of those that ever existed.
Exactly. Only one person bought it and donated it. It was me. I'm like, maybe I should take it back. Anyway, today we are at episode 50, right?
That
Isn't this
blows my
it?
mind.
That's
Oh my
so wild.
gosh.
Good for
That's
us. We
crazy.
just did good for her. Like now this theme
Good
should be
for
good for
us.
us. Good for us.
Yes.
50
Good for her. Good
episodes.
for hers, plural.
Hers. Yeah. Her and her. Yeah, I'm really proud of us. This is it feels like we've done so much, and also I'm like it kind of flew by. Like first 50 episodes went by like
Absolutely.
that. But we have been at
Yes.
this for like
Yes.
over a year, right?
Over a year. Yeah. We celebrated our 1-year anniversary like a month before the recording of this episode,
Wow.
which Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Pretty
And
impressive. Small break, and that's been it.
due
Every
to my
single week besides that.
I know, it's amazing. And due to my illness, we are recording almost in real time. Usually we're in this weird
It's
time
true.
where we're a month from now when you hear this, and who knows where we'll be at in life, but no, we're pretty much there. So 50 episodes, go us. And in order to
Whoa.
celebrate that, we're starting a new theme, which is kind of random and not like that special to us. It's haunted tunnels. But this episode was chosen because it is actually like one of the first like haunted locations that we have been able to visit together, which is really cool. Maybe the
It
only one.
was
Have we ever done anything else like
I
officially
trying to think
haunted?
when we did like our big road trip. I guess we didn't do anything haunted. We just stayed in that creepy
No.
town, but that wasn't on purpose. It was just
Right. That was like post-apocalyptic, but like not actually.
yeah,
And
I
like the
think this
mountain was on
maybe
fire. Like Montana's just kind of wild place.
that was a weird experience. But yeah, I think this is our only like in-person haunted thing we've done together. Now, when you come to visit me in just a few short weeks, I already have some haunted ideas, and I think you may have already too. So we will add to the list from there. But
Yes,
this is our
yes.
first.
This is
And this was
exciting.
also like 5 months ago.
It was so long ago. So we'll chat a little bit more about that at the end, but I want to introduce kind of like what the Hoosac Tunnel is and why it fits with our cozy horror paranormal theme. So this is local to me at least. So we're heading to Western Massachusetts, specifically the Berkshire region. And the Hoosac Tunnel was built way back in 1851. Now, this isn't our first tunnel discussion, so we're going to be throwing it back to our Donner Pass episode. I don't know, a couple months ago. I've like completely lost track of when that was, but like
What is
scroll a little bit, you'll
time?
find it.
Yeah.
You'll find it. Um, so the goal of a tunnel, right, is to like get from an A to B. We talked about the Donner Pass being like it's super mountainy and snowy and treacherous, and so they were like, well, instead of just having to deal with all that, what if we just went through the mountain? This was a pretty similar idea. The Hoosac Range is running through this area, and essentially at the time like it was so these are like some of the oldest mountains like apparently in the world. I learned um and so they're like pretty intense, and so like
Wow.
the east of those mountains and then like west of those mountains, like you just like the New Englanders just like couldn't get to New York basically without like extreme hardship. So the goal was now to be able to help us access like the west, essentially us New Englanders.
Hmm.
So
Mhm.
it's a really long tunnel. Like this is a big mountain that it's going through, and when it was completed it ended up being 5 miles long, which is pretty long. This is just like
Wow.
complete darkness. Like you start and then you go through and it's just like this dark creepy, like we saw it. It's like very rocky, and it's got such a spooky vibe when you look at it.
And that blows my mind even today to think of a tunnel being built that is 5 miles long. I'm sure there's longer ones, whatever. But like in 1851, like just thinking about all the engineering that has to go into that and then like all of the like physical labor, that is so long.
Yes, yes. And as we know from our Donner Pass episode, it was like not good. Like, they're like, what an amazing feat. And it's like so many people died. Like, what is amazing about
Yeah.
that? Like, all you did was just sacrifice human life to accomplish something
Yeah.
that is incredible in hindsight. But like, was that worth it? Should we not have like waited a minute and like come up with a better way? Anywho.
I'm sure they were able to make money off of it though. So
Oh, yeah,
like,
that's all that matters,
yay,
right?
capitalism.
Yeah, I love capitalism. It doesn't stress me out at all. No anxiety here. So the tunnel goes from a town called Florida in Massachusetts, which is confusing, and I still don't know why that is named Florida. And it spans all the way to North Adams. So you can visit the tunnel, and you could go either to like the North Adams end or the Florida end. We only went to one end, and I honestly forget which end it was, but it was like the fancier side of the tunnel. Very cool. But if you look it up online, you'll be able to figure out um, a lot of people end up going to both, which was like originally our plan, but we just were short on time that day. So, as I mentioned, this was considered like an engineering marvel. Like people couldn't believe that this was be able to be accomplished, but it did take 25 years to build. So it wasn't completed
Wow.
until about 1875. Now, back in the Donner Pass episode, when I was talking about I think it was called the California Pacific Railroad, and it was a lot of Chinese
Mhm.
immigrant labor, I thought that that was also the case in this tunnel. I thought that that was just like around the time, it was just like a lot of Chinese immigrant labor doing a lot of the tunnels. And I learned that it was actually mostly Irish immigrants. It still was immigrant labor, but this
Oh,
was
yeah, of
mostly
course.
Irish, Cornish, German, and French Canadian. And some sources do,
Interesting.
I guess, misidentify. I don't know. We'd have to talk to more of an expert. It was actually hard to find. It talks about like how many people died, but like pretty much nothing else about them, which I found disturbing. And so I tried to do like a
Yeah.
deeper dive so that I could like speak more, which is like how I found out like, the background of some of these immigrants, but I mean, there's really not much there, which is sad. But there is like a little memorial that's just like to the workers, which is like nice, I guess. But
It's
I don't
better
know.
than nothing, maybe.
Sometimes you're like, yeah, I see why you're haunting this
Yeah.
place, why you may not
Yeah.
be quite at rest.
Go for it.
I know, have had it. Um, so as I mentioned, this was an engineering marvel, but it was a marvel because many, many people died. So many people died, in fact, that the Hoosac Tunnel has the nickname. Actually, I found two nicknames that were really charming. The most common is the Bloody Pit.
Ooh, classic.
Lovely. And the other one is the Tunnel from Hell.
All right. All right.
Yeah. So that gives you a sense of like how the production of this tunnel went and its reputation thereafter. So for the first about 15 years or so of the project, the builders really didn't have much to work with. They had what was called black powder. So like, they could blast a little way through, but they were essentially like very slowly chipping away, like just making teeny tiny
Oof.
progress, just like chipping away at the mountain, trying to get through. And then after that, we have the introduction of nitroglycerin. So that's the second time we're talking about nitro again in the podcast. We know how
Mhm.
well that worked out before. Much more effective for blasting through rock, but
Sure.
extremely unstable and dangerous. So that was a huge part of why people were dying. And then there were just other risks as well. So there's the unsafe condition of like nitro blasting, rocks falling, just the like actual labor itself. But then there's actual one possible murder kind of early on.
Oh.
Yeah, questionable, like completely unsolved crime. But what happened was this was actually the first recorded death too in the tunnel. So that we're kicking things off here.
It's unexpected.
I know. So there were these three men uh called explosive experts. The story does not suggest that their expertise was so great.
Hmm.
Um Unless it was intentional, and then it totally makes sense. So their names were Ned Brinkman, Billy Nash, and Ringo Kelly. So they set a charge with the nitro, and then, after you set a charge, you have to go for cover because there's going to then be an explosion. The
Correct.
man, right, named Ringo Kelly apparently set the charge off early. So, like, he was fine. He was able to make it to cover, but the other two died in the blast and were like covered in rubble and killed.
Oh no.
So it was like questionable about like did he set it early intentionally? Was it an honest
Mm.
mistake? Was he just being
Mhm.
neglectful? But then he went missing. He just
Oh.
disappeared. And then they eventually found him, and it was pretty clear that he had been strangled to death. And strangled to death almost in the exact spot where the explosion had happened and the two other men had died. And
I
they
was not expecting crime in this.
I know. And so they like the case went like completely cold. They investigated. They were like, well, clearly this seems like murder, but they could not find anyone like who would have done this. And so like what
Hmm.
people were saying is like, oh, it was the ghosts who came back for their revenge and strangled this man to death.
Oh, I especially did not expect that. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
that was their theory.
I love it. So it's been haunted from the beginning, basically.
Yes, yes. So yeah, that was a little unexpected start, but basically it just ended up being like a cold case, like an unsolved murder. They don't know what happened. Um then basically after this, that's kind of like when the haunting started. No surprise there. So workers began reporting hearing disembodied voices, and then there was like a frequent haunting described in the Hoosac Tunnel is just like a man groaning in pain. Like there's just this groaning happening,
Mm,
and then there's just nobody around. And so like it was so intense and so scary. And we've been there. Like it's just creepy anyway.
it
Like
is.
haunted or
It's
not, it's
very
like got
creepy.
creepy vibes. No matter like what the weather is, what's going on, like it's just creepy. But the workers were getting so freaked out, they were like actually leaving. Like, they were like,
Oh,
I'm not gonna work here anymore. It's too weird. It's too disruptive. And that became such a big issue that investigators were hired to like debunk the paranormal activity,
I
essentially.
was like really expecting this to be a like they built a tunnel, a bunch of people died, and then afterwards
Yeah.
hauntings. But this is just
No.
throughout.
Yes. It was like from this early, murder question, whatever happened. And then things
Hmm.
kicked off. So the investigators come, they do their investigation. They apparently heard the same creepy, like one of the guys I think had been he was a war veteran, and he's like, there's a man groaning in pain. Like I know what that sounds like. That's a man groaning in pain. That's not the wind. Because they were like trying to say like, oh, that's just the wind. It's just a weird sound. He was like, that's a
Mhm.
man groaning in pain. And so they were like, oh yeah, no, like we think it's haunted too. So
Hey,
it
I want to know,
totally
were these
backfired.
investigators like, were these like the cops of the day, or were these like the ghost hunters of
I
the
know.
day?
I'm like, I feel like they maybe said it was possibly like an engineer. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Um,
I love it.
but yeah, just like basically they wanted someone who was more like no, he had no like paranormal. He would have been a
Okay.
skeptic, right? He's a
Yeah.
science guy. So
Okay.
he
Okay.
was
Yep.
there to be like, yeah, no way. And he was like,
Yep.
I think so. I think it's haunted." Okay. So then we get to the story that I was familiar with that like has stuck with me ever since. So this was the biggest casualty that happened during the building of the Hoosac Tunnel. It occurred on October 17th, 1867. So to give a visual to kind of what was happening, so this is like kind of how tunnels were done at the time from what I understand. They come from the east and are building like that end of the tunnel. They come from the west and are building that end of the tunnel, and then they have a central shaft usually where they're going down. Yeah, really creepy. Down, and then they
Oh,
build out. So there's like kind of so they're basically just like
interesting.
for room, right?
Okay.
So you can have more people working and get it done quicker. So this vertical shaft, in order for it to like function safely, which seems like this seems like so sophisticated for the 1800s. It's really it's a marvel of engineering. So they had the central shaft that had like, kind of the makeshift elevator that would both lower the workers down, and then also that was
Mhm.
how they'd have to haul the rocks like out
All
of there
right.
because like you have to put them somewhere in order for there to be an actual opening in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then they also had to have two other separate, like, tunnel shaft kind of things next to the main shaft. So one was to um, get the water out. So, like, when you're going down, it's like otherwise you just be like in a pool of
Oh,
water because of like,
okay.
whatever someone
Yeah.
who understands like how mountains and environment work. But, like, they would have just been flooded. Like, they would have just been like full of
Yeah.
water. I know.
Okay.
I know. I was like, this is the thing I don't have time for. So I'm like, water in there. And then they also had to get out. They had like an exhaust shaft basically. So there were
Hmm.
also like just this release of like natural toxic gases that then would come out of this tunnel so that like people didn't just get like poisoned and die. So
Okay.
yeah, kind of interesting. And I don't know if that was just because of like the blasting that then that had to come out or like that was mixing. Like I think there was a kind of a combination of just like natural and just a lot of other like they had fires or candles and like there's just a lot of like really high risk dangerous stuff happening. They had to ventilate.
Sure.
So it obviously like this is impressive, but also like doesn't sound like super safe and like oh nothing will ever go wrong. Like whatever went wrong with
Absolutely
like
not.
miners and going down like deep into a mountain. Nothing ever,
Still
right?
to this day.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
exactly. Very, very safe job. So in this mid-October day, a candle actually, so they had a candle to light like the shafts, like see what they're doing, like going to and from, and it ignited fumes from the exhaust, and it actually caused this like huge explosion. So debris, fire, like there's just like raining all of this like hot, rocky rubble, like everything that you imagine that like miners and like people building tunnels go through is happening. And this is in that central shaft, so imagine it, it's just like you're just going down, down, down into this
Oh
hole, and
God.
there's no exit yet because the tunnel isn't finished, so you can't get out either side. The only
No,
way is to
no,
go back up the elevator. I know, it's
absolutely not. I would
absolutely
never.
terrifying. Now, because the explosion was so intense, it blasted through all 3 of the shafts, so it started filling up with water. The one that was getting the
Ooh.
water out was toast. So it's filling up with water, filling up with water, filling up with toxic fumes, and then they have fiery rocks falling on
Ugh.
them. All the workers who are down there
Oh my
trapped.
God.
So they tried, of course, to like get someone down there as quick as possible. They sent one man down. I don't know if he volunteered. I don't know if he drew the short straw. He gets lowered down in whatever makeshift. I don't know like how they were able to lower him down, but they lower him down, they pull him back up relatively quickly, and he's like on the verge of passing out from all the fumes and just like says 2 words before passing out. He says no hope.
Oh God.
It's so sad. So after that, they didn't really make any further immediate rescue efforts kind of until the like danger of like the fumes, like the water rising and the fire, active fire was taken care of. So a few months later, they were finally able to reach the bottom of the shaft again, and they were shocked by what they found.
Oh
They had
no.
found that some of the men had survived long enough to build a raft so that they
Oh
could maybe
no.
float to the surface, but they had all suffocated to death.
Oh, that's terrible.
Ugh, it's so, so tragic. Um, and this ramped up the hauntings in a very, very big way.
Obviously.
So they weren't able to immediately recover all of the bodies. And in this kind of period, well, there were still like dead bodies down at the bottom of this shaft, just like waiting to be put to rest. There was just like many, many, many reports of paranormal activity. They were just like they were seeing ghostly apparitions. They're just like basically just like miners like carrying their tools, walking around, and then they'd all of a sudden disappear. Like when they got to the central shaft, people would
Ugh.
hear cries and whimpers like coming from the ground underneath their feet, like kind of around the area.
Ah.
And then to make it even more creepy, they finally found the 13th worker who had died down there, and when the last body was recovered and buried, the haunting seemed to, like, almost completely stop.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Of course, it was
So
13 also, like,
I
it's
know.
a powerful haunting.
Yeah. This is, like, just so spooky ooky, this whole situation. Just
Mhm,
is, like,
mhm.
really intense. So this was extremely tragic as you hear, but, like, just to put this into perspective of how tragic this was, by the time the tunnel was completed, about 200 of the 800 workers died. That
Oh
is
my
a
god.
quarter. A quarter of the people hired to work on this tunnel died.
That's awful,
That
and of
is
course, like,
so many.
nobody, like, stopped it or halted
Oh,
it,
no.
like, this is a huge problem because it was all
No.
immigrants.
Right,
Yeah.
and there was, it was so bad that I think there was a strike at one point. This is like a rabbit hole that I wasn't able to go on. So there were, like, people were not like, "This is okay." But it did continue
Okay,
into
good.
completion. So, yeah, a deeper dive is certainly warranted there. But although I said that the hauntings kind of calmed down, like, they were, like, extremely substantial kind of immediately after that, and obviously people it's just, like, a huge tragedy, and I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people were mourning and upset and everything, but it wasn't like, oh, then they were just like, "Oh, this place isn't haunted anymore. We're all good to go." It still has a reputation as one of the most haunted places. And there is therefore like a ton of just paranormal reports from people over the years. Some specific stories, like there was like a hunter walking in the woods and he kind of then went missing, and then when he came to, he was like halfway through the tunnel and had like scratches on his
Oh.
head, and he was like, oh, they like voices lured me in here, and then they like stole my gun and like beat me with it. Yeah, like there's
Whoa.
lots of very like sinister kind of things like that. Like the ghost like physically assaulting people. There's a lot of like kind of more typical stuff, like orbs, unexplainable lights, dark figures and apparitions. What I found really creepy is for those people who like choose to walk in the tunnel, there is a lot of reports of the sound of wet, heavy footsteps. And if you're not
Ew.
hearing it, there's also just people reporting the feeling like someone's like walking right behind you, which was like, it was so creepy. Um, but yeah, that is essentially the story of the Hoosac Tunnel. And we went there and we saw it, and we didn't have anything haunted happen to us, unfortunately. But it was creepy. It was
It was
creepy.
creepy. It was totally creepy. And like for safety's sake, we didn't give it that much of a shot
No.
for something haunted to happen to us. We were very entrance bound.
Yes, yes. And like for any of those interested in going to visit, like it's definitely worth the visit, but like people who walk through the tunnel, it's like at a risk to their lives because it is very much still an active railway with I think it's at about like 12 trains going through there or so a day,
Yeah.
which is quite a bit. That's pretty
So
frequent.
that would have been like the like prevalent threat to our lives, but also we were there in the middle of winter and there were
Yes.
an incredible number of gigantic icicles hanging from the ceiling inside the tunnel,
Yes.
falling and crashing.
Yes. Like that, like that would have been a hospital trip if one of those
For
hit us.
sure.
They were the
Yeah.
biggest icicles I've ever seen. And because it was like a warmer or sunnier day, yeah, they were just falling and crashing. So that I remember the first one that happened, I screamed. I was like,
Yes, yes,
a little tense.
yes.
We also were harbinged when we were walking up there. Do you remember? We were walking towards it,
Yes.
and it looked like a mom and her maybe teenage daughter walking away, and they're like, "Be careful! Like, there's definitely like something in there." Like we heard voices, and we're like, "Yes, let's go,
You know
let's
what?
go!"
I'm also like so proud of us too because like we talk about harbinging so much that we are actually able to be harbinged, unlike anyone who's
Yes.
ever been harbinged in a horror movie.
Yes, not harbinged enough to be like we should go home, but we
No.
had like a healthy level of caution where we're like, okay, we're
Yes.
not gonna. I mean, we couldn't walk in the tunnel anyway. I probably would have walked in like a little bit, but no, like we literally couldn't because of the icicles. So we would have literally died
That would have
potentially.
been
This was like
it.
a very real non-paranormal threat to our safety.
Proud of us. We all four of us made really good decisions. Also, it was really sweet that it was our first haunted experience and we got to bring the husbands
I
along.
know, I know, I know. It was really sweet. And so I was in the car with Chris earlier today, and I was like, "Do you want like a little sound bite for the episode since you were there?" And he was like, just tell them that I wish I saw a train coming out of it. I was very sad." And so then he went on YouTube, I guess, after and saw a video of like shot from like the cab of a train going through the tunnel, and it was really creepy. And there was this whole like in the
Oh.
comments like, "Oh, this is AI," and a lot of people being like, "No, like I've driven a train through the tunnel and it looks like that." So question mark if it was real, because that is the question we have to ask with literally anything these days, and I hate it.
Upsetting.
But yes, it was a
That's
very cool
so
video.
funny. That thought did not occur to me once that day of like, I hope I get to watch a train come out of this tunnel.
He loves trains very much.
I was very not focused on trains outside of the it could kill us if we walked inside. Huh.
Yes, I
Huh.
know. To each their own, as
So
they say.
interesting. I love it.
But happy 50 episodes.
We did it. I'm so proud of us.
Exciting. And then next week we're going to be talking about another haunted tunnel. It's actually one that we talked about like way back in the day when we had our haunted medical history. So I wanted to like repurpose this and dive a little deeper into the hauntings. So we are going to be talking about the Waverly Hills Sanatorium and their creepy little death tunnel. So we'll see you there.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Haunted Homebodies. Make sure you like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
And remember, when in doubt, just stay home.